Hi everyone, just thought I'd do a quick video of some of the model tanks, things I've been doing, some military models. This one here I recently did, it's a Sturm Tiger. I think it was a 38cm from memory mortar. From my research, I think they only made about 18 of these, which was a Tiger tank, basically underneath a Tiger 1 tank. And they modified and put the top part on there. So what I did a little bit of weathering that I'd never tried before. I tried some chipping type rust techniques with a lighter colour, and then mixed up some brown and some black to create that rusty look. Did a few oil stains around the engine covers. And I've been watching some of the guys online do some weathering, and kudos to Night Shift, I believe his name is. I've been watching him and a couple of the other guys on there. I did some of the exhausts, probably not as good as what his look, but they haven't come up too bad. A bit of mud on the tracks. I've still got to do some washes on this one. I've just done basically a light spray of a lighter colour to create more of a faded look and some rust, but I've got to do some washes on it. A little bit more weathering to go on this one. A little cable, I made that in the drill with some copper wire. Attach that to the side of the tank. And just the tools that came with the kit. I had a bit of a go at painting some of those, if I can get it to focus. So that one there, that's sort of nearing completion. I think that's 147th scale, that one. These little 1/72nd scales are little JS3 Russian tank. That was a little Revel kit. I did a few modifications to it. The ends of these fuel tanks were hollow, even though you can't really see in that gap that much. I filled them in. Used a little bit of sprue and made some fuel caps on top of the tanks that weren't there. And started doing a little bit of weathering, just some washes on it. Those decals were real stark white, so I'll put a bit of wash over them as well. So that's the little IS-3 or JS-3, Joseph Stalin 3, 1/72nd. And then you've got your US tank. A little bit of weathering on that I've done. And your little fella, that one. And on the back, I made that little bundle with some green stuff and painted it. A little bit of braided fishing line wrapped around it. And I weathered those little jerry cans that came with the kit. Some spare wheels that were part of the kit, threw them on the back with a crate and did a bit of weathering on those. Those tools on the side here, they're moulded onto the kit, they're not separate, so that took a lot of delicate brush work. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way this little Sherman came up. 1/72nd Sherman. Then you got a I think that's a 1/35th. Built that about 10 years ago, that one. I had it on a diorama with some soldiers. It's a PAX 7 from memory, German field gun. That's not a bad model. And then this one, more recent, which I've been working on, is a SD KFZ 10 half track. So I'll show you the box. So if I can come back a bit. It's a Dragon kit. It's probably one of the fiddliest models I've built actually. Some of the parts, I did the engine, took some photos of it out of the vehicle, and then I'll put the bonnet over so you can't even see it, but there's a lot of little parts on the engine. The gearbox was ridiculous. Parts you can barely see with a magnifying glass with my eyes. Little gear shifters, and I made those green stuff, little pack rolls and tarps, and put them in there. On the kit, didn't really have the colour for the seats, but I assumed they were black leather, but I went with a brown leather just to be a bit different with it. A couple of different washes to bring out the leather look, and a gloss acrylic water-based clear on it to give it a real leather look. You know, that back bit wasn't part of the model, the cover, the tonneau cover. Didn't have it, so what I did, I googled some real images of a real one driving on YouTube and some other models. Made that out of green stuff, just kind of folded it with some, while it was wet, with some water so it didn't stick to itself. Made the best sort of shape I could, and I've glued that on the back. Obviously painted it with a couple of different colours, water-based colours, and then did an oil wash, which is basically some brown wood stained, thinned out with some terps on it. And then I dry brushed it with a light beige. And then the straps, that's actually masking tape stuck down on the bench. A little piece of it there on the glass. I stuck 3 layers over one another and cut it with a hobby knife. And then I made the little same thing, stuck the little buckles on there with other bits of tape, painted them with just some water-based brown paint, and wrapped it around there. So, and that the actual part of the tonneau, which would be the metal frame, I just used some sprue and I stretched it out thin, heated it up with a lighter, stretched it out, and then held it with a pair of pliers where I wanted to bend it as a bit of a heat sink on this part. So, sorry, here, held it with the pliers there as a heat sink, and then as I warmed it with a lighter, it just sort of bent it around to create the bend. So, hasn't come up too bad for my first attempt at that type of thing. I think it looks okay. Let me know in the comments what you think of it. A little bit messy in places, this model. It was the fitment of some of the parts was a bit difficult. This front area, where I suppose you'd call it the firewall to the windscreen down to the body, wasn't the greatest fit, and then the front of the bonnet I had to put some car body filler in there. It was a big gap, but it's a pretty cool model. It's different to a tank, something different to look at, and I've still got to assemble the tracks to put on the back and weather it. So once it's all finished, it should look alright. That's a 1/35th, so it's a bit out of proportion to the tank behind it, which would have been obviously different scale. And then we've got over here, this one here is a T-35-72 Russian tank with a 72mm gun. Haven't really done any weathering yet, just a bit of mud on the tracks, airbrushed it, put the decal on. So this one here was a pretty comprehensive model. So I'll show you. I haven't glued the top on, so you can have a look inside. A lot of work with that one. Gearbox and engine. With some rusting on the exhaust. Oil stains. That's the engine in there. And then the interior, lots of detail, lots of tiny parts. All those little control boxes and radio. The shells, spare machine gun rounds, gear shifters, all that sort of stuff. I'll just spin it around. The gun has actually stood on the ammunition crates apparently. And the driver's seat. So yeah, lots of detail, hence the reason why I haven't glued the top on that one. So the turret, same thing. Lots of detail inside there too that you kind of miss, but it was a fun build, that's for sure. And then I'll just quickly show you this one. It's a Panzer IV. Used a cotton bud and dabbed that pattern on that just to be different, something different. Again, I've only put some mud on the track, so I haven't weathered that yet. So once I sort of put a light spray over it and dull it down a bit, it won't look as stark, and the camouflage pattern's fairly bold. So once I finish weathering it, it should come up pretty nice, that one. It's an Abrams behind. It's an older one I did a long time ago. It's got bits missing. Lost the cupolas off it, so I'll have to fix that up. And then this one, KV1, which I've done a fair bit of weathering on, which is coming up pretty good. I made a little pack on there out of green stuff. Rusty exhaust and some old diesel soot. Did some washes on there. Come up in the photo. Some staining running down the side on the rivets, just by watching the guys online. Same thing with the cables, handmade those cables. The mud on there. So yeah, I just thought I'd show you those models. I hope you like them. It's something different to what I'm normally on there online with cactuses and everything. So let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Thank you.